let's see, chat, how China's new AI model DeepSeek is killing the Chat GPT, or the normal AI version of US, you can say that. But yeah, it's killing it. It dropped. It's killing Nvidia, as we saw earlier. And let's see what CNBC got for us.
China's latest AI breakthrough has leapfrogged the world.
I think we should take the development out of China very, very seriously.
A game-changing move that does not come from OpenAI, Google, or Meta.
There is a new model that has all of the valley buzzing.
But from a Chinese lab called DeepSeek.
It's opened a lot of eyes of what is actually happening in AI in China.
What took Google and OpenAI years and hundreds of millions of dollars to build, DeepSeek says took it just 2 months
and $6 million, right?
$6 million.
Yeah.
They have the best open source model, and all the American developers are building on that.
I'm Deirdre Bosa with the Tech Check Take, China's AI breakthrough.
Okay. Bro, what is this? Can you make this up? Wait, what? Why the quality is so bad? DeepSeek's triumph.
It was a technological leap that shocked Silicon Valley. A newly unveiled, free, open source AI model that beat some of the most powerful ones on the market. But it wasn't a new launch from OpenAI or model announcement from Anthropic. This one was built in the East by a Chinese research lab called DeepSeek. And the details behind its development stunned top AI researchers here in the US. First, the cost. The AI lab reportedly spent just $5.6 million to build DeepSeek version 3.
Right.
Compare that to OpenAI, which is spending $5 billion a year.
Wow.
And Google, which expects capital expenditures in 2024 to soar to over $50 billion. And then there's Microsoft that shelled out more than $13 billion just to invest in OpenAI. But even more stunning, how DeepSeek's scrappier model was able to outperform the lavishly funded American ones.
To see the DeepSeek new model, it's super impressive in terms of both how they have really effectively done an open source model that does what is this inference time compute, and it's super compute efficient.
It beat Meta's Llama, OpenAI's GPT-4o, and Anthropic's Claude Sonnet 3.5 on accuracy on wide-ranging tests, a subset of 500 math problems, an AI math evaluation, coding competitions, and a test of spotting and fixing bugs in code. Quickly following that up with a new reasoning model called R1, which just as easily outperformed OpenAI's cutting-edge O1 in some of those third-party tests.
Today, we released Humanity's Last Exam, which is a new evaluation or benchmark of AI models that we produced by getting, math, physics, biology, chemistry professors to provide the hardest questions they could possibly imagine. DeepSeek, which is the leading Chinese AI lab, their model is actually the top performing, or roughly on par with the best American models.
They accomplished all that despite the strict semiconductor restrictions that the US government has imposed on China, which has essentially shackled them out of computing power. Washington has drawn a hard line against China in the AI race, cutting the country off from receiving America's most powerful chips like NVIDIA's H100 GPUs.
Yep.
Those were once thought to be essential to building a competitive AI model, with startups and big tech firms alike scrambling to get their hands on any
stocks
available.
Went down, bruh.
But DeepSeek turned that on its head, sidestepping the rules by using NVIDIA's less performant H800s to build the latest model and showing that the chip export controls were not the chokehold DC intended.
They were able to take whatever hardware they were trained on, but use it way more efficiently.
True.
But just who's behind DeepSeek anyway? Despite its breakthrough, very, very little is known about its lab and its founder, Liang Wenfeng. According to Chinese media reports, DeepSeek was born out of a Chinese hedge fund called High Flyer Quant that manages about $8 billion in assets. The mission on its developer site, it reads simply, unravel the mystery of AGI with curiosity. Answer the essential question with long-termism. The leading American AI startups, meanwhile, OpenAI and Anthropic, they have detailed charters and constitutions that lay out their principles and their founding missions, lengthy sections on AI safety and responsibility. Despite several attempts to reach someone at DeepSeek, we never got a response.
How Did they actually assemble this talent? How did they assemble all the hardware? How did they assemble the data to do all this? We don't know. And it's never been publicized, and hopefully we can learn that.
But the mystery brings into sharp relief just how urgent and complex the AI face-off against China has become. Because it's not just DeepSeek. Other more well-known Chinese AI models have carved out positions in the race with limited resources as well. Kai-Fu Lee, he's one of the leading AI researchers in China, formerly leading Google's operations there. Now his startup, 01.ai, it's attracting attention, becoming a unicorn just 8 months after founding and bringing in almost $14 million in revenue in 2024.
The thing that shocks my friends in the Silicon Valley is not just our performance, but that we trained the model with only $3 million. And GPT-4 was trained by 80 to 100 million.
That's crazy,
trained with
dude.
just $3 million. Alibaba's QN, meanwhile, cut costs by as much as 85% on its large language models in a bid to attract more developers and signaling that the race is on.
America's undermined.
China's breakthrough undermines the lead that our AI labs were once thought to have. In early 2024, former Google CEO Eric Schmidt, he predicted China was 2 to 3 years behind the US in AI. But now, Schmidt is singing a different tune.
They are
Here
4
he
to
is
5
on
years
ABC's
ahead,
This
buddy.
Week.
Well, I used to think we were a couple of years ahead of China, but China has caught up in the last 6 months in a way that is remarkable.
Of course he would say that
The
now.
fact of the matter is that a couple of the Chinese programs, one, for example, is called DeepSeek, looks like they've caught up.
It raises major questions about just how wide OpenAI's moat really is. Back when OpenAI released ChatGPT to the world in November of 2022, it was unprecedented and uncontested.
True.
Now the company faces not only the international competition from Chinese models, but fierce domestic competition from Google's Gemini, Anthropic's Claude, and Meta's open source Llama model.
Right.
And now the game has changed. The widespread availability of powerful open source models allows developers to skip the demanding, capital-intensive steps of building and training models themselves. Now they can build on top of existing models, making it significantly easier to jump to the frontier, that is the front of the race, with a smaller budget and a smaller team.
In the last 2 weeks,
Imagine that the DeepSeek was made by using ChatGPT, OpenAI, or US model, and they got the coding and everything from there. I'm sure it's not like that, but imagine that someone do something like that.
AI research teams have really opened their eyes and have become way more ambitious on what's possible with a lot less capital. So previously, to get to the frontier, you'd have to think about hundreds of millions of dollars of investment and perhaps $1 billion of investment. What DeepSeek has now done here in Silicon Valley is it's opened our eyes to what you can actually accomplish with 10, 15, 20, $30 million.
It also means any company like OpenAI that claims the frontier today could lose it tomorrow. That's how DeepSeek was able to catch up so quickly. It started building on the existing frontier of AI, its approach focusing on iterating on existing technology rather than reinventing the wheel.
They can take a really good big model and use a process called distillation. And what distillation is basically you use a very large model to help your small model get smart at the thing that you want it to get smart at.
Oh,
and that's actually very
it's
cost
kind of
efficient.
like that
It
what I was
closed
saying.
the gap by using available data sets, applying innovative tweaks, and leveraging existing models. So much so that DeepSeek's model has run into an identity crisis. It's convinced that it's ChatGPT. When you ask it directly, what model are you? DeepSeek responds, I'm an AI language model created by OpenAI, specifically based on the GPT-4 architecture.
So this is actually what I was saying, like using the GPT and making another model, like they really use American thing to make the Chinese version of their own, that's what I was saying. And that's kind of actually what they did. That's crazy, dude.
OpenAI
but
CEO
it's
Sam Altman
powerful.
to post in a thinly veiled shot at DeepSeek just days after the model was released. It's relatively easy to copy something that you know works. It's extremely hard to do something new, risky, and difficult when you don't know if it will work. But that's not exactly what DeepSeek did. It emulated GPT by leveraging OpenAI's existing outputs and architecture principles while quietly introducing its own enhancements, really blurring the line between itself and ChatGPT. It all puts pressure on a closed source leader like OpenAI to justify its costlier model as more and potentially nimbler competitors emerge.
Everybody copies everybody in this field. You can say Google did the transformer first. It's not OpenAI, and OpenAI just copied it. Google built the first large language models. They didn't productize it, but OpenAI did it in a productized way. So you can say all this in many ways. It doesn't matter.
So if everyone is copying one another, it raises the question, is massive spend on individual LLMs even a good investment anymore? Now, no one has as much at stake as OpenAI. The startup raised over $6 billion in its last funding round alone. But the company has yet to turn a profit. And with its core business centered on building the models, it's much more exposed than companies like Google and Amazon, who have cloud and ad businesses bankrolling their spend. For OpenAI, reasoning will be key. A model that thinks before it generates a response, going beyond pattern recognition to analyze, draw logical conclusions, and solve really complex problems. For now, the startup's O1 reasoning model, it's still cutting edge, but for how long?
Researchers at Berkeley showed that they could build a reasoning model for $450 just last week. So you can actually create these models that do thinking for much, much less. You don't need those huge amounts to pre-train the model. So I think the game is shifting.
It means that staying on top may require as much creativity as capital. DeepSeek's breakthrough also comes at a very tricky time for the AI darling, just as OpenAI is moving to a for-profit model and facing unprecedented brain drain. Can it raise more money at ever higher valuations if the game is changing? As Shamath Palihapitiya puts it, let me say the quiet part out loud. AI model building is a money trap.
That's what I see too. Necessity is the mother of invention.
Those chip restrictions from the US government, they were intended to slow down the race, to keep American tech on American ground, to stay ahead in the race.
What we want to do is we want to keep it in this country. China is a competitor and others are competitors.
So instead, the restrictions might have been...
the restriction really made China invent this thing, you know? They were like, we really need something like that too, like America got. So... that was the necessity, and necessity is the mother of invention, though. So they invented it for themselves, a new one, which is better than them,
Just what China needed.
Necessity is the mother of invention. Because they had to go figure out workarounds,
right?
They actually ended up building something a lot more efficient.
True.
It's really remarkable the amount of progress they've made with as little capital as it's taken them to make that progress.
It drove them to get creative, with huge implications. DeepSeek is an open source model, meaning that developers have full access and they can customize its weights or fine-tune it to their liking.
It's known that once open source is caught up or improved over closed source software, all developers migrate to that.
But key is that it's also inexpensive. The lower the cost, the more attractive it is for developers to adopt.
The bottom line is our inference cost is 10 cents per million tokens. And that's 1/30th of what the typical comparable model charges.
And where's it going?
The 10 cents would lead to building apps for much lower cost. So if you wanted to build a U.com or Perplexity or some other
So you're not
app,
talking millions and billions here, you know?
$4.40 per million tokens, or if you have our model, it costs you just 10 cents.
It could mean that the prevailing model in global AI may be open source. As organizations and nations come around to the idea that collaboration and decentralization, those things can drive innovation faster and more efficiently than proprietary closed ecosystems.
True, that's true.
A cheaper, more efficient, widely adopted open source model from China, that could lead to a major shift in dynamics.
That's more dangerous because then they get to own the mind share, the ecosystem.
In other words, the adoption of a Chinese open source model at scale, that could undermine US leadership while embedding China more deeply into the fabric of global tech infrastructure.
There's always like a point where open source can stop being open source too, right? So the licenses are very favorable today, but if
could close it.
Exactly, if over time they can always change the license. So it's important that we actually have people here in America building, and that's why Meta is so important.
Another consequence of China's AI breakthrough is giving its Communist Party control of the narrative. AI models built in China, they're forced to adhere to a certain set of rules set by the state. They must embody core socialist values. Studies have shown that models created by Tencent and Alibaba, they will censor historical events like Tiananmen Square, deny human rights abuse, and filter criticism of Chinese political leaders.
That contest is about whether we're going to have democratic AI informed by democratic values built to serve democratic purposes, or we're going to end up with autocratic AI.
If developers really begin to adopt these models en masse because they're more efficient, that could have a serious ripple effect, trickle down to even consumer-facing AI applications, and influence how trustworthy those AI-generated responses from chatbots really are.
And there's really only 2 countries right now in the world that can build this at scale, and that is the US and China. And so, the consequences, the stakes in and around this are just enormous.
Enormous stakes, enormous consequences, and hanging in the balance, America's lead.
Damn, this is crazy, honestly. Like, we kind of got the idea, right? We kind of got the idea, like, what they are trying to do, what is the competition, what is really happening here, Bruh, this is crazy. Like, the way China overcoming US with all those restrictions, they were like, bruh, you got restrictions on us? Here we come. With the more cheaper, more efficient, more faster, just overall way better AI than what US got, you can say. And that's crazy. It's gonna really bring out a lot of competition here, and they can do a lot of they can handle, or they can control a lot more stuff now. And yeah, this is gonna be a game changer in a good way or a bad way, you can say. I think so. But yeah, it just got made, and let's see what really happens here. The CEO of the DeepSeek is also not out there, and they don't got too much info on it as well, like what it really is or what it can really do, like the way OpenAI or ChatGPT, you can say, or if you ask what is it, who is the founder, what's your background, or how it was made and all that, it can really answer you all about all. Also, they got like a website or anything. But honestly, I haven't even tried DeepSeek yet, but for past week I have been seeing a lot about this, that DeepSeek it did this, it did that, it dropped a lot of stocks of Nvidia, which was used to make the ChatGPT or other kind of AI models like this. But DeepSeek was like, no, you don't need all those special, crazy, powerful softwares, or you can say these, materials to make that. You can also use the normal basic version one to make a powerful one. And looks like, as I was saying during the video, they got all the stuff from ChatGPT or American AI from that, and just made their type of DeepSeek, so they use their material or instruction from that place, put it here, put some more work in it, and boom, they got their own AI. And yeah, this is crazy. It's gonna bring a lot more competition into this area, I think so too. But yeah, overall, this is honestly crazy for US most of, because a lot of money is went into it, and they really did not wanted this, that China to have all this dominance, especially in AI, because they were really killing it with the ChatGPT. It was really crazy, like, oh, US got this thing, and I think so. Yeah, they have to really come up with a lot of more powerful or better, you can say, version of it, I guess. But yeah, soon we're gonna see what's gonna happen. But recently this thing is killing it, dude. But yeah, good W.